Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my African World Cup qualifier predictions. I can't believe I've just said that. I feel like we've literally just finished the Afcon qualifiers, but of course the World Cup 2026 qualifiers are about to begin. And of course, as I love my African football content so much, I thought, hey, who other to bring you African content than me myself? Of course, before we jump into the qualifiers, because we have quite a few games to talk about, do let me know in the comment section down below which African nation I should make individual videos about. And of course, do let me know down below which African nation you're from. And if you're not from Africa, hey, where are you from? But of course, jumping into our first game of round one of the qualifiers, it is Equatorial Guinea versus Namibia. Now, I do feel like this has potential to be a semi-close game because Equatorial Guinea have been in slightly good form lately, while Namibia not too long ago beat the likes of Cameroon.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
I do feel like this could be close, but due to their form and a bit more consistency over the years, I'm going to go for Equatorial Guinea with a 2-1 win. Now, talking about form, we can't really do that with the next game, as it is Rwanda versus Zimbabwe. Now, both Zimbabwe and Kenya weren't part of the Afcon qualifiers. They were banned due to political reasons, so we haven't seen Zimbabwe play in quite a while now. And because the team has played more often as a group and slightly more used to it, I'm going to go for Rwanda here with a 1-0 win. But hey, maybe Zimbabwe can pull something here. Now next up, we've got the DRC versus Mauritania, and I'm going to go for the DRC with a 2-0 win here. I just think looking at them in terms of individuals and how they've played as a team, they really are on an upward trajectory at the moment. I've seen a lot of positive football from them. I think they've got some brilliant talents in their squad at the moment, and I do think they are a team most people are going to see as underdogs for this tournament.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Now next up, we've got Ethiopia versus Sierra Leone. Now neither of these two teams have qualified for the next round of Afcon, which by the way, I'm going to base a lot of my predictions and thoughts and opinions off of the Afcon qualifiers, as it is the most recent African football that we have watched. But of course, neither of these two teams have qualified for Afcon, and I do think it could be very close. I don't think they are as good as they were 2 years ago, and because I can't separate these two teams, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Now next up, we've got Burundi versus Gambia, and this isn't a difficult one for me. It should be the Gambia with a 1-0 win. Look at Burundi, I think defensively they're going to struggle to keep up with the pace of Gambia.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
And really, I think the attacking ability of Gambia, I do think it's going to leave Burundi running a bit for their money. I think Gambia are going to take this one 1-0. Now next up, we do have a South African, or Southern African derby should I say, with Botswana versus Mozambique. Now, I'm going to give this one to Mozambique, 1-0. I do think they've got slightly better footballers. I think they've also shown in recent history that they can kind of push those bigger teams, that they kind of can be more of a threat. We've seen that versus teams like Senegal, like one or two other big nations, where even when they don't win, they really do push for it. And I think they've got more of a drive than Botswana. Now, looking at and talking about a drive, we do have Nigeria versus Lesotho next. And I do think that Nigeria are absolutely going to run Lesotho over.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is gonna hurt like a mother.
Don't get me wrong, maybe Lesotho can do something throughout qualifiers, but looking at Nigeria, scoring 11 goals in their last 3 games combined. Also, Victor Osimhen, their main striker, in the Ballon d'Or top 10. He's gotten 12 goal contributions as a whole in Afcon qualifiers. I do think Nigeria, once again, are going to have an absolute field day here, and I'm going to give them a very strong 5-0 win, although, hey, maybe it could be more.
No!
Now next up, we've got the likes of Sudan versus Togo. Once again, neither of these two teams have been brilliant during the Afcon qualifiers, and I do think once again it could translate over to a very, very boring game. Hey, maybe someone could pick up a penalty here, but once again it's going to be a 0-0 draw in my opinion. Now next up, we've got Gabon versus Kenya. As I said, Kenya, same as Zimbabwe, hasn't played through the Afcon qualifiers, so I don't think they're going to be as well gelled as a team. And looking at Gabon really doing well in recent history, I think, even when they haven't qualified for things, I do think they have potential to play better football, and I'm going to give them a 2-0 win. Now, talking about better football, we've got Algeria next versus Somalia, and this could be an absolute run over. Look at Somalia, I believe they're the lowest ranked African nation in the world. I think they're like the 12th worst nation in the world.
I'm just here for banter, I swear to God.
Versus Algeria, who, as we know, some absolute ballers in that team. I would be surprised if Algeria got anything less than, once again, I'm going to go for a 5-0 win here. I think it's going to be great to see some top talent like Riyad Mahrez once again. I do think once again should be an easy fixture. And I mean, I don't think the next game could be too different with Egypt versus Djibouti. Once again, strong favourites. As we know, Egypt, the most successful African nation of all time. And I'd once again be surprised if Mo Salah, the Egyptian king, didn't sit on his throne here. I think Egypt are going to take this one 3-0. Now next up, we've got Morocco versus Eritrea, which once again, very, very easy one here, and it's not for Eritrea. I'm sorry.
Naughty, you teasing me?
Because look here at Morocco, once again, the only ever African nation to reach the semi-final for World Cup, and that was just about a year ago. I think although a lot of their top talent has moved out of Europe to Saudi Arabia, this Moroccan national team just stole so much talent, and I'm going to give them a very strong 4-0 win. Now next up, finally getting into some of the closer games again, it's Cape Verde versus Angola. Now once again, I do think this is a very, very close game. I think both teams have the ability to challenge here. I could definitely see a red card or maybe even 2 red cards here.
Oh, behave.
I think this could be a 1-1 draw. I don't think it's going to be a boring game, but I do think both teams have the same level of competitiveness. Now next up, we've got Eswatini, also known as Swaziland versus Libya. And once again, Eswatini, not a totally bad nation, but I do think Libya has a slightly better squad at the moment. And once again, until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to give them a 1-0 win. Now, the Comoros Islands versus Central African Republic is next, and I'm going to give this one to the Central African Republic. Although in the last, 4 or 5 years, Comoros have qualified for more tournaments, I do think the Central African Republic have something about them at the moment. I do think they've got brilliant players, obviously Kondogbia is the easiest one to reference, but I do think the Central African Republic will take this one 1-0. Now, Guinea versus Uganda is next. And look at Guinea once again, some absolute ballers in their team.
What did he say?
Whether it be Maribo in the midfield, who's got one of the most assists in the Afcon qualifiers so far. And then you get the likes of Guirassy as a strike up front. Once again, what an absolutely brilliant team Guinea have at the moment. And they have potential to really surprise some African nations at the moment. And I think versus Uganda, they could get a very comfortable 2-0 win. Once again, we haven't seen Guirassy really perform at national level yet, just a club for Stuttgart so far. But once again, I could see something here. Now, next up, we've got Liberia versus Malawi next. And I think both teams, once again, very, very close. I didn't think Liberia was bad in the Afcon qualifiers. Although they didn't make it through, I almost think some of the results were unfair to their ability. And once again, Malawi on the day can also be a really, really good team. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I do think Liberia will take this one 1-0. Now, Zambia versus Congo is next. And look at Zambia, once again, should take this one easily. Obviously, they've qualified for the upcoming African Cup of Nations. I believe they even topped their group that had Ivory Coast in it.
Hey, that's pretty good.
And I think they could take this one 2-0. Once again, Congo have decent footballers, but Zambia on a whole new level. Now, we've got the Black Stars of Ghana versus Madagascar next. Both of these two teams were in the same Afcon qualifier group as each other, and although Madagascar seriously did worry Ghana from time to time, I do think ultimately Ghana are the better team here. I feel like they are starting to learn under Chris Hughton, and I'm going to give them a 3-1 win, especially with Mohammed Kudus looking absolutely brilliant in the Premier League. Let's hope he can put up a result here. Now we've got Mali versus Chad. Once again, very easy prediction in my opinion. We've definitely seen a lot more quality from Mali, whether it be their performances, whether it be their team. And I do think Mali will take this one 2-0, but it could definitely be a lot more. Now, Burkina Faso versus Guinea-Bissau next. It could be a close one, but I'm going to give this one to Burkina Faso with a 2-1 win. I was worried at a stage,
But I'm starting to get a bit shaky, you know? I mean, I'm a little bit worried.
because it looked like Bertrand Traoré was the only player they depended on up front. But now Atara, obviously the Bournemouth striker, is picking up, and he's looked relatively decent for Burkina Faso, and I think he'll be the match winner here. Of course, we've got Tunisia versus Sao Tome and Principe next, and it should be an easy one in my opinion. Obviously, Tunisia, I believe, have the top goal scorer in the Afcon qualifiers, or at least one of the top goal scorers in Afcon qualifiers.
Good guess, but actually no.
With Sao Tome and Principe, once again, they've just been conceding goals for, well, I was going to say fun, but I don't think they're having fun doing it. I don't think Sao Tome and Principe are nearly close to the level that Tunisia are, a nation that beat France in the recent World Cup, and I think Tunisia should take this one 4-0. Now, next up, Ivory Coast versus Seychelles. I'm going to give this one to Cote d'Ivoire with a 2-0 win. And I think Sebastian Haller is going to be on fire. No, he hasn't been brilliant in the Bundesliga, but he scored in his last 2 games for Cote d'Ivoire. And I think ultimately a better nation, and I don't think they were great during Afcon qualifiers, but due to them being hosts and automatically qualified, I don't think there was that competitive nature, where I do think it'll be here. Now, Cameroon versus Mauritius is next, and it should be an easy one. With Cameroon taking this one, I'm going to say 3-0. Obviously, I do think now that Andre Onana, although hasn't been brilliant for Man United, now that he is back in this Cameroon national team, they look to be a whole new level better. I think once again, in terms of attacking, midfield, defensive, everything ability of Cameroon, they are just a better team, and they should take it. Now, South Africa versus Benin is next, and this is my home nation, but ultimately, do I think South Africa will beat Benin? I do think it'll be a lot closer than some people think. I do think Benin have pulled off some really impressive results in recent time. I also think they've got some great players, and with South Africa apparently missing Lyle Foster at the moment, I think they could really struggle on the attacking front. But obviously after that win versus Morocco, I've got a bit more faith in South Africa's ability, and I'm going to give them a 2-1 win. Please, South Africa. Now we've got our second last game with Niger versus Tanzania. Once again, 2 teams that were in the same Afcon qualifier group as each other. Niger ended 4th in that group, Tanzania ended 2nd. That's really the only thing I have to base things off of. So I'm going to give Tanzania a 2-0 win. But of course, that does take us to our final game of the video. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed the video, do subscribe down below. And if you think I've gotten any of my predictions wrong, let me know in the comment section. But obviously, Senegal versus South Sudan is next. And although, no, I don't think Senegal will be as big a threat as they used to be 2 years ago, I do think ultimately they are a better footballing nation and they should take this one. Once again, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win here. I do think once again they are the favourites and they will deliver. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my Afcon, or not my Afcon, my African World Cup qualifier predictions for round 1. Obviously, I'll see you guys very, very soon for round 2. As I said, like, subscribe, all of the good things. Let's go Africa.